The galaxy was quiet until they arrived. For centuries, the stars had been home to countless species, each living under their own rules and beliefs. Peace wasn't perfect, but it worked. Trade routes connected distant planets, and councils of leaders kept disputes from turning into wars. But all of that changed when the humans came. It started with a signal. A faint transmission picked up by listening posts near the edge of known space. At first, no one paid much attention. Strange signals were common in deep space. Most turned out to be natural phenomena or stray broadcasts from old colonies. But this one was different. It repeated itself over and over, clear and deliberate. The message was simple. We are here. We mean no harm. Curiosity quickly turned to alarm when the source of the signal revealed itself. Ships appeared at the edge of the system, massive and dark against the light of nearby stars. They were sleek, angular, and bristling with weapons. Each vessel looked like a predator ready to strike. The largest ship led the group, its hull glinting faintly in the starlight. On its side, bold letters spelled out its name, *Eclipse*. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge of the Eclipse, staring at the swirling colors of an alien nebula outside the viewport. His sharp blue eyes scanned the displays around him, taking in every detail. Beside him, Lieutenant Laura Bennett studied the readings on her console. She was younger than Ryan, but her calm demeanor made her seem older. Together, they commanded the fleet sent by Earth to make contact with whoever lived among the stars. "Anything yet?" Ryan asked, his voice steady but tinged with impatience. "Still scanning," Laura replied without looking up. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls. No response to our hail. Either they're ignoring us, or they don't trust us. Ryan frowned. Trust would be hard to earn. He knew humanity's arrival wouldn't go unnoticed or unchallenged. Earth had spent centuries fighting for survival, battling famine, disease, and war. When resources ran out, people looked to the stars. Now, after decades of research and exploration, humanity had finally found others. But Ryan also knew that first impressions mattered. And right now, their fleet didn't look friendly. Far away, on a distant planet, Kel watched the same ships through a screen in his office. As a representative of the Galactic Council, he had seen many strange things in his life, but nothing like this. The ships were unlike anything his people had ever encountered. Their design was efficient, almost brutal. There was no artistry, no attempt to appear welcoming. These ships were built for one purpose: domination. "They've entered our territory," said a voice behind him. It belonged to Ava, a young scientist who worked closely with Kale. Her wide eyes reflected both fear and fascination. "What do you think they want?" Kale leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. "I don't know, but I doubt it's just to say hello." Back on the Eclipse, Ryan gave the order to move closer. "Let's show them we're serious," he said. "But not too serious. We need to find a balance." Laura nodded, relaying the command to the rest of the fleet. Slowly, the ships advanced, their engines glowing softly as they crossed the void. Every movement was calculated, every action meant to send a message. Humanity was here, and it wasn't going anywhere. For now, the galaxy held its breath. No one knew what would happen next. Would there be peace, or would these new arrivals bring chaos? Only time would tell. The meeting was set to take place on a neutral space station orbiting a gas giant. It was an old structure, built long before any of the current leaders were born. The walls were lined with glowing panels that cast soft light across the room, and the air smelled faintly of metal and recycled oxygen. Representatives from the Galactic Council gathered in one corner, whispering among themselves. They looked uneasy, their eyes darting toward the entrance every few seconds. Finally, the humans arrived. Captain Ryan Mitchell led his team into the chamber, followed closely by Lieutenant Laura Bennett. Both wore plain uniforms, dark blue with no unnecessary decoration. Their boots clicked against the floor as they walked, drawing all eyes to them. Ryan's expression was calm, but his stance was firm. He carried himself like someone who had seen too much and wasn't afraid to face more. Laura stayed a step behind him, her sharp gaze taking in every detail of the room. Cale stepped forward to greet them. He was taller than most of his kind, with pale skin and deep-set eyes that seemed to look through people rather than at them. Beside him stood Ava, clutching a tablet tightly in her hands. She tried to smile at the newcomers, but it came out nervous. "Welcome," Cale said, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "We've been expecting you." Ryan nodded once. "Thank you for agreeing to meet. We come in peace." The words sounded hollow even to Ryan himself. Behind him, some of his crew shifted uncomfortably. The aliens exchanged glances, unsure whether to believe him. Peaceful or not, the humans' warships still loomed outside the station, visible through the large windows. Their presence was impossible to ignore. Laura stepped forward, holding out a small device. "This is a gift," she said, placing it on the table between them. "It contains information about Earth, our history, our culture, and our intentions here." Her tone was warm, almost friendly, a stark contrast to Ryan's cold professionalism. Cale picked up the device and examined it carefully. "We appreciate the gesture," he said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "But gifts won't erase the questions we have." "What do you want to know?" Ryan asked, crossing his arms. Ava spoke up before Cale could answer. "Why did you come here? Why now?" Ryan hesitated for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "Earth is struggling. Our resources are nearly gone. We need help to survive. That's why we're reaching out, to trade, to learn, and maybe to form alliances." The room fell silent. The aliens glanced at each other, unsure how to respond. Some looked skeptical, others angry. One of the representatives, a short figure with shimmering scales, leaned forward. "And if we refuse, what happens then?" Ryan didn't flinch. "We hope it doesn't come to that. But I won't lie, we're prepared for anything." His honesty made the room tense even further. Laura shot him a quick glance, silently urging him to soften his approach. Clearing her throat, she added, "What Captain Mitchell means is that we're willing to negotiate. We don't want conflict. We just want a chance to prove ourselves." Cale studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well. We'll consider your offer. But understand this, we won't tolerate threats." As the meeting ended, both sides left feeling uncertain. Back on the Eclipse, Ryan paced the bridge, replaying the conversation in his mind. "Did we say enough?" he muttered to Laura. "You told the truth," she replied. "But sometimes the truth isn't enough. We need to show them we can be trusted." Meanwhile, aboard the station, Cale and Ava reviewed the data from the device. Images of Earth scrolled across the screen. Cities crumbling, forests burned to ash, oceans rising uncontrollably. Ava frowned. "They really are desperate," she said softly. "Yes," Cale agreed. "But desperation makes people dangerous. We can't let our guard down." Outside, the warships floated silently in the void, watching and waiting. For now, there was peace, but everyone knew it was fragile, like glass ready to shatter at the slightest touch. Back on the Eclipse, Ryan Mitchell sat alone in his quarters. The dim light from a desk lamp cast long shadows across the room. He stared at a screen displaying classified files sent directly from Earth's government. Each line of text weighed heavily on him. The orders were clear: secure resources by any means necessary. If negotiations failed, humanity would take what it needed, even if that meant using force. Ryan rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of leadership pressing down on him. He had known the mission wasn't just about diplomacy when he accepted it. But now, faced with the reality of those instructions, he felt torn. Could he really justify starting a war to save Earth? And what kind of future would they build if their survival depended on conquest? A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he said, straightening up as Laura Bennett entered. She closed the door behind her and stood there for a moment, studying his face. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, pulling up a chair without waiting for an invitation. Ryan hesitated before speaking. "I got new orders from Earth." Laura leaned forward, concern etched on her face. "What kind of orders?" He turned the screen toward her so she could read it herself. As her eyes scanned the document, her expression darkened. This changes everything," she whispered. "If we go down this path, we'll lose whatever trust we've built." "I know," Ryan replied, his voice heavy, "but Earth is running out of time. Billions of lives depend on us succeeding here. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made." Laura shook her head firmly. "Sacrifices? Is that what we're calling it now? Because it sounds more like betrayal of them and of ourselves." Her words stung, but Ryan didn't argue. Deep down, he knew she was right. Still, he couldn't ignore the orders he'd been given. "Do you think I want this?" he asked quietly. "I didn't ask for this responsibility, but I can't turn my back on Earth either." Before Laura could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. Both of them jumped to their feet and hurried to the bridge. When they arrived, the crew was already scrambling to assess the situation. On the main screen, a group of small alien ships was approaching the Eclipse at high speed. "They're hailing us," one of the officers reported. "Put them on screen," Ryan ordered. The image flickered, revealing a harsh-looking alien with jagged teeth and piercing yellow eyes. His tone was hostile. "You are trespassing in our space. Leave now, or we will destroy you." Ryan clenched his fists but kept his voice calm. "We're not here to fight. We're on a peaceful mission. Stand down, and let's talk." The alien sneered. "Your warships say otherwise. You humans are invaders. Prepare to die." The transmission cut off, leaving silence on the bridge. Ryan turned to Laura. "Looks like not everyone wants to talk." Laura nodded grimly. "Orders. For now, hold position. Let's see what they do next." Meanwhile, aboard the alien station, Kale listened intently as Ovid explained her latest discovery. She had spent hours analyzing data from old probes scattered throughout the galaxy. "These probes, they're human-made," she said, pointing to images on her tablet. "And they've been here for decades, maybe longer." Kale frowned. Why would they send probes so far ahead of their arrival? What were they looking for? "I don't know yet," Ava admitted. "But it suggests they planned this meeting long before they showed up. They knew we were here." Kale sighed deeply, rubbing his temples. "This complicates things. If they've been watching us, then nothing they say can be trusted." Ava hesitated before speaking. "Maybe not, but we should still try to understand them. Starting a war won't solve anything." Kale looked at her, his expression unreadable. "War might find us anyway, whether we're ready or not." Outside, the tension grew thicker. The alien ships circled the Eclipse, weapons charging. On the station, whispers spread among the council members, some calling for immediate action against the humans. Farther away, other factions began mobilizing their fleets. The fragile peace everyone had hoped for was slipping away, replaced by fear and suspicion. In the vast emptiness of space, the Eclipse floated silently, its crew preparing for whatever came next. For now, the galaxy held its breath, but how much longer could it stay that way? Tensions between humanity and the alien factions continued to rise. On the Eclipse, Captain Ryan Mitchell struggled to keep his crew focused. The atmosphere aboard the ship was tense, filled with whispered conversations and uneasy glances. Some of the crew believed that diplomacy was a waste of time and pushed for stronger action. Others, like Lieutenant Laura Bennett, argued that patience was key. Laura stood on the bridge, watching the monitors closely. Ships from various alien factions had begun gathering near the edge of human-controlled space. It wasn't an outright blockade, but it was clear they were preparing for something. "They're testing us," she said aloud, though no one responded. She knew Ryan was listening, even if he didn't reply. Ryan paced behind her, his jaw tight. He wanted to believe the aliens wouldn't attack, but their growing presence made him uneasy. If they struck first, Earth's government expected him to retaliate hard. That thought troubled him deeply. "We need to stay calm," he finally said. "One wrong move could start a war." But staying calm wasn't easy. Rumors spread among the alien factions that humanity's warships carried weapons capable of destroying entire planets. While exaggerated, these stories fueled fear and anger. Kale, the alien representative, found himself under immense pressure from his own people. Many demanded immediate action against the humans before they became too powerful to stop. Ava, the young scientist, worked tirelessly in her lab, analyzing data from old probes and ancient records. She had uncovered strange patterns in the ruins of long-dead civilizations, patterns that matched symbols found in human history. Her discovery hinted at a connection between humans and the galaxy's past, but she needed more evidence. "If I can show them we're linked," she told Kale, "maybe it'll change how they see us." Kale nodded, though doubt lingered in his eyes. It's a big gamble. What if they don't care? Before Ava could answer, alarms blared across the station. A fleet of small, aggressive alien ships appeared on the scanners, heading straight for the eclipse. These weren't part of the Galactic Council. They were mercenaries, hired by factions who saw humanity as a threat. Their leader broadcast a message: "Leave now, or we'll force you out." Ryan received the transmission on the eclipse's bridge. His expression hardened as he listened. When the screen went dark, he turned to Laura. "What do you think?" "They're trying to provoke us," she replied. "If we fire back, it'll confirm everything they believe about us." Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "And if we don't, they'll see it as weakness." The alien ships moved closer, weapons charging. The Eclipse's crew braced for impact. Just as the tension reached its peak, Ryan gave the order: "Deploy experimental pulse cannons designed to disable enemy systems without causing permanent damage." The beams shot out, striking the lead alien vessel and shutting it down instantly. The other ships hesitated, then retreated. Though the immediate threat was over, the fallout was severe. News of the attack spread quickly, and the Galactic Council condemned humanity's actions. Kale felt betrayed, while Ava feared this would end any chance of peaceful cooperation. Even Laura questioned whether Ryan's decision had been the right one. On the Eclipse, Ryan stared at the empty space where the alien ships had been. He had acted to protect his crew, but deep down, he wondered if he had just made things worse. For now, the galaxy remained silent, but silence often came before a storm. The aftermath of the skirmish left everyone uneasy. On the Eclipse, Laura Bennett couldn't shake the feeling that they were losing control of the situation. The crew moved through the ship in silence, their faces tense and tired. She found Ryan in his quarters, sitting at his desk with his head in his hands. Papers and screens covered the surface, glowing faintly in the dim light. "You should get some rest," she said softly, leaning against the doorway. Ryan looked up, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. "I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see those ships firing at us. What if it happens again? What if next time we're not so lucky?" Laura stepped inside and sat across from him. "We did what we had to do. But you know as well as I do, this isn't just about survival anymore. It's about trust. And right now, we're failing." Ryan didn't respond. Instead, he turned one of the screens toward her. It displayed classified files from Earth's government, detailing their desperate need for resources. The message was clear: humanity's survival depended on securing alliances or taking what they needed by force. Laura scanned the documents, her heart sinking. This is why you've been so quiet lately. You knew all along, didn't you?" Ryan nodded slowly. "Earth gave me my orders before we even left. They told me to use diplomacy if possible, but never to hesitate if things got messy. I thought I could balance both. But now," his voice trailed off, filled with regret. Meanwhile, aboard the alien station, Ava worked late into the night, poring over data from the ancient ruin she had discovered. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as images and symbols flickered on the screen. Kale entered the lab quietly, watching her for a moment before speaking. "Ava, you need to rest," he said gently. "You've been at this for days." She shook her head without looking up. "I'm close, Kale. Really close. These ruins, they're proof that humans and our ancestors share a connection. If I can show them this, maybe it'll change everything." Kale frowned. "And if it doesn't? What if they don't care about history or connections? What if all they want is power?" Ava paused, finally meeting his gaze. "Then we fight. But not until we've tried every other option." Back on the Eclipse, Laura confronted Ryan again. "The crew is starting to ask questions," she said. "They deserve to know the truth about Earth's plans." Ryan sighed deeply. "If I tell them, they'll lose faith in me and in humanity. How do I lead them when they know we might be here to conquer instead of cooperate?" "You don't have a choice," Laura replied firmly. "Secrecy will only make things worse. We need transparency, Ryan, or we'll lose more than just trust." As the hours passed, whispers spread among the alien factions. Some called for war, while others urged caution. Kale addressed the Galactic Council, pleading for patience. "We don't understand these humans yet," he argued. "Attacking them now would be a mistake." But fear outweighed reason for many. Ships began gathering near the edge of human-controlled space, ready to strike if provoked further. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. On the Eclipse, Ryan made a decision. He gathered the senior officers in the briefing room and revealed Earth's true intentions. The room fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. Some looked angry, others simply stared at the floor. "We may not agree with Earth's orders," Ryan said finally, "but we still have a chance to do this our way. To show them, and ourselves, that humanity can rise above desperation." As the meeting ended, Laura stayed behind, watching Ryan closely. "That took courage," she said quietly. He managed a small smile. "Let's hope it's enough." Outside, the stars burned brightly against the endless blackness. For now, the galaxy remained quiet. But the storm was far from over. Document. Part 6 of When Humans Came with Warships, the Galaxy Stopped. Betrayal came swiftly and without warning. On the Eclipse, Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge, staring at the screens showing an increasing number of alien ships massing nearby. The fragile peace they had worked so hard to maintain was crumbling. Some of the crew muttered angrily about being set up for failure, while others remained silent, their faces pale with worry. Laura Bennett walked onto the bridge, her expression grim. "Ryan, we've got a problem," she said, handing him a report. It detailed intercepted communications between hostile alien factions planning a coordinated attack on the Eclipse. "They're not even trying to hide it anymore," Laura added. "They think we're invaders. No matter what we say, they won't listen." Ryan clenched his fists but forced himself to stay calm. "Then we'll have to show them we're not their enemy." "But how?" Before he could answer, alarms blared across the ship. A swarm of alien fighters emerged from behind a nearby moon, heading straight for the Eclipse. The crew scrambled to their stations as Ryan gave the order to raise shields and prepare weapons. "Hold fire unless fired upon," he commanded, though his voice betrayed his frustration. "We can't afford another mistake." The alien fighters buzzed around the Eclipse like angry insects, firing warning shots that sparked against the ship's shields. Laura watched the chaos unfold, her mind racing. She knew this wasn't just about defense. It was about perception. If humanity retaliated too harshly, they'd lose any chance of trust. But if they did nothing, they risked destruction. Amid the tension, Ava made a breakthrough. Back on the station, she pieced together fragments of data from the ancient ruins. Her hands trembled as she brought Cal into the lab. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a holographic image of a symbol. "This matches markings found in human history. These ruins, they're proof that humans and my people share a common ancestor. Kale stared at the image, stunned. Are you sure? Ava nodded. Yes, this changes everything. If we don't act now, we might destroy ourselves and our own past. Kale hesitated but finally agreed. He contacted the Galactic Council, urging them to delay any attacks until they heard Ava's findings. Many argued against him, calling him naive, but a few listened. For now, the assault on the Eclipse was postponed. On the Eclipse, Laura received word of the temporary ceasefire. She rushed to tell Ryan, who looked both relieved and suspicious. Why would they stop? He asked. Because someone is trying to help us, Laura replied. Maybe it's time we let them. Against his instincts, Ryan agreed to meet with Kale and Ava aboard the station. When they arrived, the atmosphere was tense but hopeful. Ava presented her evidence, explaining the connection between humans and the galaxy's ancient civilizations. This proves we're not strangers, she said. We're family. Fighting each other would be like fighting ourselves. Ryan listened carefully, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. If what you're saying is true, then Earth needs to know. But I can't promise they'll listen. Kale stepped forward. Then make them listen. You're here because Earth sent you. Show them there's another way. As the meeting ended, Laura pulled Ryan aside. This is our chance, she said, to prove we're more than conquerors, to prove we're survivors who can adapt. Ryan nodded slowly. I just hope it's enough. Outside, the stars shone brightly, their light piercing through the darkness. For now, the galaxy paused, caught between fear and hope. But the question lingered in everyone's minds. Could humanity truly change its course, or was war inevitable? The summit was held in a large chamber aboard the neutral space station. Representatives from the Galactic Council filled one side of the room, their faces tense and wary. On the other side sat Ryan Mitchell, Laura Bennett, and a few key members of the Eclipse's crew. The atmosphere was heavy with unspoken accusations and lingering distrust, but there was also a flicker of hope that the truth might change everything. Ava stood at the center of the room, her hands trembling slightly as she activated the holographic display. Ancient symbols and images floated above the table, glowing faintly in the dim light. These ruins, she began, her voice steady despite her nerves, prove that humans and our ancestors share a common origin. We are not strangers. We are connected. Kale watched the crowd carefully, gauging their reactions. Some looked skeptical, others intrigued. A representative from a reptilian species leaned forward, his sharp eyes narrowing. How do we know this isn't a trick? That these ruins aren't fake? It's not a trick, Ava replied firmly. We've analyzed the data thoroughly. The technology used to create these ruins predates both our civilizations. This is real. Ryan stepped forward, his tone calm but resolute. If this discovery is true, and I believe it is, it changes everything. Earth sent us here because we're desperate. Our planet is dying, and we need help to survive. But we didn't come here to conquer or destroy. We came because we thought we could find allies. Laura added, her voice softer but no less sincere. We've made mistakes. We've acted out of fear and desperation. But we're willing to learn, to work together. If we can put aside our differences, maybe we can build something better, not just for Earth, but for all of us. The room fell silent as the weight of their words sank in. For a moment, it seemed like the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Then, an older alien leader rose to speak. His voice was slow and deliberate, carrying the weight of centuries. You ask us to trust you, but trust must be earned. How do we know you won't turn on us once you've taken what you need? Ryan hesitated before answering. You don't. Not completely. All I can offer is my word, and my actions moving forward. If you give us a chance, we'll prove ourselves, not just as survivors, but as partners. Kale exchanged a glance with Ava, then stood up. This isn't a decision we can make lightly, But if what you say is true, if we truly share a past, then we owe it to ourselves to explore this connection. War will only destroy us. Let's try peace instead." The council debated for hours, their voices rising and falling like waves. Finally, they reached a tentative agreement. Humanity would dismantle their warships and allow joint teams of humans and aliens to study the ancient ruins. In return, the Galactic Council would provide resources and knowledge to help Earth recover. As the meeting ended, Laura approached Ryan, her expression a mix of relief and determination. "This is just the beginning," she said. "There's still so much work to do." Ryan nodded, his shoulders lighter than they had been in weeks. "Yeah, but for the first time, I feel like we're on the right path." Outside, the stars shimmered brightly against the endless blackness. The Eclipse's massive form loomed in the distance, its weapons powered down as a gesture of goodwill. For now, the galaxy remained peaceful, but everyone knew the road ahead would be difficult. Still, for the first time, there was hope. Hope that humanity and the stars could find a way to coexist. The days that followed were filled with change. The Eclipse's crew worked tirelessly to dismantle their warships, stripping them of weapons and converting them into tools for exploration and research. It was a symbolic gesture, one meant to show the galaxy that humanity was ready to leave behind its violent past. Ryan Mitchell oversaw the process, his face lined with exhaustion, but also quiet pride. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he was part of something bigger than himself. Laura Bennett took command of the Eclipse, her calm demeanor earning respect from both humans and aliens alike. She led joint missions to the ancient ruins, working alongside Ava and other scientists to uncover their secrets. Each discovery brought new understanding, not just about the shared history between humans and the galaxy's inhabitants, but about the potential for cooperation. The ruins revealed advanced technology and knowledge that could benefit everyone, not just Earth. Cale watched these developments closely, his skepticism slowly giving way to cautious optimism. He still had doubts, but he couldn't deny the progress being made. "They're trying," he admitted to Ava one evening as they reviewed data in the lab. Maybe we judged them too quickly." Ava smiled faintly. "People make mistakes. What matters is whether they learn from them." Meanwhile, back on Earth, news of the Alliance spread cautiously among the population. Governments debated the implications, some leaders wary of trusting alien species, but images of the ruins and the promise of new resources and technologies began to sway public opinion. Humanity's survival no longer seemed like a lonely struggle. It felt like part of a larger story. On the Eclipse, Ryan stepped down as captain, handing over full leadership to Laura. "It's time," he told her simply. "I started this mission, but you're the one who can finish it. You've always believed in doing what's right, even when it's hard." Laura accepted the responsibility with gratitude, but also sadness. She knew Ryan had sacrificed much for this mission, and stepping aside wasn't easy for him. Still, she vowed to honor his legacy by leading with compassion and wisdom. As months passed, the galaxy began to heal. Trade routes reopened, connecting distant planets once again. Scientists from all species collaborated on projects inspired by the ancient ruins, unlocking possibilities no one had imagined before. The warships that once symbolized fear were repurposed into vessels of unity, carrying teams of explorers to uncharted regions of space. One evening, Laura stood on the observation deck of the Eclipse, gazing out at the stars. Cale joined her, his presence calm and steady. "You've come a long way," he said after a moment of silence. "So have you," she replied. "We both have. And there's still so much farther to go." Cale nodded. "Yes, but for the first time, I believe we'll get there, together." In the vastness of space, the Eclipse drifted quietly, its hull glowing faintly under the light of a nearby star. The scars of conflict remained, etched into the fabric of the galaxy, but they were slowly fading. Humanity had arrived with warships, bringing fear and uncertainty. But now, those same ships carried hope, a reminder that even the most divided beings could find common ground when faced with a greater purpose. And so, the galaxy moved forward, step by step, learning to trust, to share, and to dream of a brighter future. The stars burned brightly, their light guiding the way for all who dared to reach for them.